Welcome. Today we're going to look at a book called Scratch by Manjula Martin. This is a book by a bunch of writers, essays from a bunch of writers on the business of being a writer. Before we do that though, a couple ways you can support the channel. Number one is to go to patreon.com/CurtisMcHale, become a patron. Number two is to go to curtismchale.ca/Skillshare. There you can take one of my courses, one on tick, one on time blocking, and I have one new one on getting started with Zettelkasten. Buckle up, let's look at Scratch. Ultimately, this book is divided up into three sections. Number one is about your early days. Number one is about the grind, the grind of becoming a writer. And number three is someday, kind of like your future and success. But I didn't really find there was a drastic difference in the topics addressed there, so I'm not going to use those at all. I'm just going to address the points that I thought were interesting throughout the book. One of the first points that I kind of chuckled at and resonated with was that the writers often purchase books even when it doesn't make financial sense. And I have absolutely done this, purchased books, and then I'm like, but I really should actually, buy something for the house or something like that. Meanwhile, when I come home with, $800 in books. And when I went to buy no books whatsoever. So my wife actually laughs usually when I go to the bookstore, especially if I say I'm not buying anything, because she knows I am, and it's literally just around the corner, so I can carry home pretty much anything easily. Another great point goes for anyone running your own business or doing any type of creative work is that you shouldn't value the dream at the expense of paying the bills. Now, this comes up in Scratch, at least, when she talks about, or one of the essayists there talks about writing for free, writing because you believe in some publication, and then realizing you can't actually get groceries that week. And holding that intention, I know in my writing, and actually all of my work really, I have moved to, if I'm not getting paid, I'm just not doing the work because I've got plenty to do on my own that I think helps further creative and furthers the field of creatives for people, for creatives out there. And I don't have time. I got 3 kids. I got a family. I want to stay in shape. So I have to make a decision not to do this work for free. What has been most ironic over the last 12 months, 2020 and the beginning of 2021, is how many times I have been contacted by sites that say they support creatives. They write freelance content. They write writing content for writers, stuff like that. And when I say, okay, what do you pay writers? I get back, either we don't pay writers or, we've gone in a different direction right now. And that has consistently happened. I find it very ironic that all these sites that purport to support creatives don't actually want to pay the creatives. They just want to charge ads to these, charge income, whatever else, to the readers and not actually pay the creatives that work for them. Another really good look at what it takes to be a writer, a creative, is that most creatives actually have some other source of income. They have a spouse that earns enough. They have family money. They are actually programmers, right? I'm a programmer for most of my time. Most of my income is programming, and then writing, doing these videos is like side income on top of that. And that we often look at writers who have made it and not realize that they actually haven't made it. They actually have a whole bunch of other stuff. I even think of Malcolm Gladwell, and I don't know his finances clearly, but he charges a lot. I assume he charges a lot for the ads on all his podcasts. And so does his income really come from his books or from his podcasts? Now, that's in some ways a chicken and the egg thing, because you may not have listened to Malcolm Gladwell unless you had read his books, unless he'd become a popular author. But he was also a journalist before that, right? So journalists paid the bills until he became an author. And then it kind of bridged him into now podcasts. And from what I know from other authors, he probably makes far more money on podcasts than he has ever made being an author. The point here is to remember that constraints are a good thing, the constraints of your family. I actually learned that when I read Shorter by Alex Sujam Kim Pang earlier this year, that he talks a lot about constraints being a good thing and constraints being a good factor, a limiting factor that really help you focus on the work you need to do. It's a really good book, Shorter by Alex Sujam Kim Pang. And that's really it. While the book was an interesting read, decent, I enjoyed the essays, I'm not convinced it's like a must-read for writers and creatives. It's decent. If you can get it at the library, maybe go for it. But I think that Jeff Goins' book, Real Artists Don't Starve, is going to give you better advice on running a writing life, running a creative life, and earning from it, or turning it into something that actually is worthwhile and is going to pay the bills. That's it. thanks for watching. If you like the video, thumbs up below. If you loved it, you can subscribe and hit the bell. And YouTube will probably never let you know something happens, but you're supposed to know after that. The other ways to support the channel are, number one, go to Patreon at patreon.com/CurtisMcHale, become a patron, or go to Skillshare at curtismchale.ca/Skillshare. I always forget that one. Often forget that one. And there you can take one of my courses like Tick, time blocking, or getting started with Zettelkasten if you want to learn to take good book notes. Have a good one.